Webinar. Great. Great. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. To those who are attending on Zoom or on Facebook, we appreciate you taking some time out of your Tuesday night to join us. So welcome to the Portuguese American Artist Gallery, Meet the Artist Talk. This is brought to you by the Embassy of Portugal in Washington, D.C., Palcus, the Chamber of Commerce, and FLAG. My name is Mariana Brazão, and I am a Palcus Director for New York. Joining me to co-host the session is Sandra Pires. Sandra, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Sandra Pires. I'm the Cultural and Press Attaché at the Embassy of Portugal in the US, a member of the Portuguese American Art Gallery team.
So this is now actually our third Meet the Artist talk of this year, which is very exciting. Earlier this year, we decided to relaunch the gallery with a focus of Portuguese Americans in the performing arts. So today we actually have the great honor of having someone who is not in the visual arts, but in more of the performing arts as a film and director and actor. So very exciting for us. If you haven't checked us out yet, please visit us online. It's PortugueseAmericanArtGallery.com. And this session is going to be streamed on Zoom as well as on Facebook, and it can be accessed later for watching on both the Palcus Facebook and Palcus YouTube. There will be time and opportunity for a Q&A, so please feel free to submit your questions in the Q&A function here on Zoom, but also on Facebook. We'll be monitoring both. So we'll let you know at the end as time permits. And I'm going to turn over to Sandra to introduce today our lovely artist.
Yes, so thank you, Mariana. So we are here today to meet the lovely actress, film director, and producer, Paula Lauzon. She honored her craft through master acting classes with Steve Blackwood and continued acting in local theater and music videos, including the Portuguese Kids, Thrift Shop parody, and Thrift Store parody. In 2015, she decided to make a leap to commercial work and quickly became recognized as a diverse character actress, both in film and television shows. Eventually, she broke in to both national and internationally known music videos. She can be seen in a variety of national ads as well as TV, video ads, and in many more various television shows and movies. Along with the Durham School of Acting and Harlow Casting, she opened her film production company in June 2019, Harlow Productions, and have recently completed filming her short film Consequences by local writer Matt Higgins. She has directed many short films and music videos. She's a member of the Television Academy and a judge in the Burbank International Film Festival, the Raleigh Film and Art Festival, and the annual Daytime Emmy Awards for the National Academy of Television Arts and Science. Welcome, Paula. It's an honor to have you here today. Did I miss something? Do you want to say something that I missed?
You didn't miss anything. You touched on everything perfectly. Muito obrigado por me receberem em seu programa esta noite. My Portuguese is very broken, but that's the best that I can do. Thank you, thank you, thank you for having me. I'm so humbled to be part of this evening.
Yeah, so just to kind of start us off, do you want to give us just a little bit of background about your work, and then we'll dive into a little more of a fireside chat.
Well, I had started back in 2014 doing background work and thrown myself into doing commercial work when I was living up in Boston. Work was slow, so I decided I'd try another path. And I got booked to do a print ad for national magazines, and the client liked me so much that they flew me out for about 3 days out to LA to finish off the next part of the ad. That ad was for Lyrica, and it renewed for 3 years after I had booked it. And so the residuals on that was really nice to have. It was a nice cushion. And I thought that it would be a great way to start getting into something different, because I was at the point in my life where I needed to find something different. And I had always liked, the creative side of film and television. And my son gave me his blessing, and I had gone out, gotten rid of everything, and whatever I could fit into my 2010 Ford Fusion. It took me about 5 days to drive across the country by myself, and I arrived in LA with $40 in my pocket. I had gone to meet a friend out in Dallas, and we ended up, he took his vehicle, I took mine, and we had gone out that way. And then we had gone separate ways after that. And I met up with some more people and just decided to continue to figure out how I was going to learn the industry. And the best way to do that was by doing background work. When I arrived out in LA, I had already secured myself a manager and a talent agent based on, what little work I did do. At that time, it was 2015. So I signed up with Central Casting in LA, and I just kept booking work. And you do background work, and you get to work at Paramount Pictures, Warner Brothers, Sony. I was on so many television shows. It was too many to name, and I got to meet a lot of nice people. A lot of the actors were really, really nice. And I kept booking student films. I'd book short films, and I just kept working my way, up the ladder. I got a lot of auditions. I auditioned for a lot of TV shows, a lot of under fives. Eventually, we made our way back out here. And at the height of the pandemic, there was no work. So I decided I would open up a film production company, which is called Harlow Productions. And we're just really dedicated to the production and presentation of short films, music videos, pretty much anything we can get our hands on at this point. And, as Sandra had enlightened everyone, we, the team, had finished doing the short film Consequences, which is about, it was filmed here in Durham, and it's about a young Black attorney who gives up his practice after he defends a DUI client who goes on to kill an innocent woman. But when the mother of a teenager in serious trouble comes to him asking for help, despite her desperation and pressure from his blue-collar father, he resists returning to law. This was my first full short film that I executive produced. We funded it, we self-funded it. I directed, produced, and I pulled together a really good team of individuals, some from Georgia and the majority from here in North Carolina. We shot it in 3 days, and it was a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday. And I had such a blast. Everybody was great. I highly recommend going that route. If you want to go to shoot a short film, do it in 3 days. And then we're also in development with a feature film, which is a horror film called Cell Block Z, that's written by an individual out in LA. And that is, like I said, it's a horror film, and it deals with zombie outbreak, which it goes through a Texas prison, and it kind of makes it kind of like a waking nightmare, if you will. And they turn into the flesh-eating monsters, of course, but the warden, who is really the lead character in this play, isn't sure he could trust, he's not sure if he could trust his convicts that he spent a lifetime imprisoning, and he has to work together to get them all to make it out of this prison alive. And you're not going to know that until you actually get to see the film once it goes into production.
That's incredible, and so much work and different types of work. And I guess that kind of has me thinking, it's kind of twofold. I think for one, it's just your career, you know, you've been in front of the screen as an actress, but you've also been behind as a director, producer. Just want to hear more about that experience, kind of navigating those different roles, how that's influenced your career, and kind of where do you see your sweet spot for that for you?
Um, well, before I got into doing the actual taking the reins of directing a film, I had co-directed a short film with a local writer, a young woman by the name of Rebecca Kirsch, and it's called Love and Lust. And I really got my feet wet doing that. But to back up more, when I was out in LA working on the sets in the studios, instead of being in holding with the background actors, waiting for the time to come on to set, I'd actually walk over to production and I'd hang out with production, with my arms crossed, and I'd hang out and I just like watch what everybody was doing to get an understanding and a feel, because I didn't go to school and I didn't have the money to put myself through school. And so somebody would always come talk to me from set and they'd go, "Are you part of the crew?" And I'd go, "Well, I'm your background actor, and I hope you don't mind." I'm saying, and they'd go, "You're just so quiet. Like, do you know what's going on?" I go, "Not really." And they would walk me through the things. They would talk to me about the camera, or the tape that was on the ground, or the cut, or what the director was. They would tell me, somebody was always talking to me and walking me through what was happening on scene. And I thought, I really like this. I think I could, I like this better than being in front of the camera. I mean, I loved doing background work, and I loved being on film, doing short films and student films. It was so much fun. I really liked the auditioning process. Gave me a feel for, what was expected. So I decided to come on the other side of that, and I started casting projects when I got here. And then I started directing music videos. And I thought, if I could cast and I could direct music videos, then I could direct a film. I could executive produce and produce a film. It's not that hard. And it really wasn't. I feel that if you have the right group of individuals with you, around you, everybody has a task. I don't micromanage my crew. They all have something to do. They go do it. And then when they're done, it's like, come back to me and let me know what's going on. How far have you gotten on the milestone, or what have you. But I really like having a hand in casting my projects, because I have a strong sense of talent in who I want to play a certain part when I'm watching an audition tape, because I read my screenplays a number of times. And I never read through the action, if you will. I always read the dialogue. And I just continue through it until I get the feel of what's transpiring, what I want to see. I'm still learning how to come up with making a shot list and doing storyboards and whatnot. Those are my two biggest challenges. But again, I feel that if you have the right people with you, they're more than happy to take on those tasks.
That's super interesting that you went from you went everywhere in the film industry, right? And I wanted to ask you something. How did you first get interested in the film industry?
Well, I had always liked watching, of course, the films when I was little. This is something that my parents had, going to be 55 tomorrow. We always had the TV on, and you always were watching something, whether it was a Godzilla flick, or, Humphrey Bogart film, or a John Wayne Western, or what have you. There was always something on, and it could have been a war movie. And my father didn't like having anybody like, he was like, sit down and get an education. I learned later on what he meant by that, in that get an education on what was happening in the story, pay attention to the story, because I couldn't ask him. I learned very early on that if I asked him, he'd be like, if you kept your mouth shut, you'd know what was going on. So I learned to do that. You learn to do that at 6, 7 years old, just, watching and getting the story and seeing what's happening. And, being in going from Catholic school, which is a private school, to a public school, I liked being in school plays, and I was only in a very small handful of them, but I liked it. I liked like being in the front and the crowd, and just being something different, instead of being me. And so I enjoyed that. And then, years and years and years had gone on, and I had done a couple of little things in the local theater in Fall River. And again, I was always nervous because I was afraid I would forget my lines or something, but I fed off of having all those eyes on me. And I just, it just sparked something that I thought, well, over 3 decades in the private sector and in the public sector, of course, it couldn't feed me, because the way my mind operated, I liked being a creative. I liked overseeing a production. I liked putting things together and making something happen. And that was something I couldn't do, in the corporate world. And so I got laid off in the 2008 bust, and then again in the 2013, I think it happened again, where the work was a little weird. And I went, I'm so tired of this. People aren't going to be hiring a middle-aged person. And they weren't. A whole bunch of us were just working part-time jobs, trying to piece part-time work together because we couldn't get full-time jobs. And I thought, I'm just going to go see what this background work is about. And I started doing little films up in Boston that were filming there, and commercials. And, I'd go to New York, from Boston to New York in one day, do a 7.5-hour turnaround for auditions and work and stuff like that. And I thought, oh, I really like this. And they paid you. So I says, well, why not? Why not try something different and seeing if I like it and see where it takes me.
I thank you for sharing that, because I think a lot of artists can resonate with that. We kind of are molded to go into one career, and there's just sometimes it just doesn't fit right. It's not our skills, it's not what we bring. So you've had this incredible and successful career, in this more creative industry. But can you speak to maybe some of the challenges you've had and how you've overcome them? Because I know, just as much as we love doing it, it's also a tough one.
The challenges are actually finding the jobs to piece together to make a decent pay, if you will. We all go out to LA and New York or whatever with delusions of grandeur that, we're going to make it big and this and that. I mean, you really, really, really have to have a thick skin. And I would say the first, I don't know, 2, 3 times, I got denied, and I was thinking, what's up with this? And I would see something that I had, auditioned for end up on TV. It was a commercial or a show or whatnot. And I'd go, I know why they picked that person, because that person fits that role. Oh, I don't know why they bring me in certain roles. And I think if they want to see what I'm going to do, I can do what the role would bring, to the table. I want to be the answer to their problem. But a lot of times I just wasn't the answer to the problem. And like I said, you have to have a thick skin and think it doesn't have anything to do with you per se, as it does with what the client, who's on the other side of that camera, whether it's the casting director, production, they go, well, we got a role that we got to fill, and we're looking for something, there's something. And you really, you got to sit down. There's certain times you got to sit down and you got to break down the sides Um, you can pull that stuff apart until you're blue in the face, you know, learning the lines, pulling apart the sides, and, you know, making sure you have the right wardrobe, if you will. I mean, there were so many different things that people told me, you know, before I went out there. One young lady had told me, Stacy Iwanicki told me, always keep clothes in your car, a change of clothes, because you would always be called for something to go somewhere and you had to have the clothes to put on, you know, always had them hanging, pressed and whatnot, different types of clothes. Always have your, you know, your resume and your headshots updated, have those in a folder in your car. All sorts of things, you know, make sure that, you know, or whether you're working in, you know, pushing carts at the supermarket out of the parking lot or what have you, you always have to make sure you have time to make sure that you're okay. And, you know, we all forget to do it, but there's always a good group of people around us that check in with you and go, is everything okay? I always had that. I was so fortunate that I always had people around me checking in with me to make sure that I was okay, because there were days where I was on almost rock bottom emotionally, and somebody would always be there checking in with me. You okay? You good? Let's go for a walk. Let's go do something. Let's go do this, you know?
It's wonderful to have the support as well, although you had some challenges, but it's good to have that. Now, going a little bit on the Portuguese culture. So how are you connecting to the Portuguese culture growing up, and how has that influenced your work?
My mother was born in Relva St. Michael, Azores. She comes from, I believe it's 15 kids, but then she was left to be the baby. And so there were 9 of them left. And then, you know, they all immigrated over here to this country. You know, every couple of years, somebody would get called over and whatnot. And my mother would, you know, she cooked a Portuguese food and we went to church. And my father was a baker and a cook as well at home, and he made sure we went to church, and they both made sure we celebrated all the holidays and whatnot. My mother loved to sing Amalia Rodriguez's songs, the father's songs. When I was little, I would cry because she sang so beautifully these songs. And so that's what I grew up with. So I feel I am proud of my Portuguese heritage, if you will, even though I was born in this country. And I'm first generation American on my mother's side, if you will. Um, I enjoy the food. I miss the food because there are things here in North Carolina that we just can't get. And so I have to have things shipped from up there. But I think just growing up in the upbringing that I grew up in, that we grew up in, both my parents were alcoholics, if you will. And my, you know, when my mother was fine, when she wasn't drinking, things were fine. When, you know, she would just make our clothes, you know, take care of us as best as she could. And I just feel that how she and my father did things instilled a lot of regimented I should be in my life, especially to be in this industry. Because like I said, you have to have thick skin. It's it's really hard. It wears on you. I found that as I was, you know, being in front of the camera, making the attempt to learn my lines, be in my head. And it's hard not to be in your head and then to wonder what's going on around you, which is why I think I went behind the camera, because I liked that much better. I felt I had more control. I didn't have as much control as when I was in front of the camera as I am behind the camera.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us about your upbringing. I think the challenges, and then, yeah, seeing how you can adapt to really make it work for you. And I guess I'm sure, I mean, this will be seen by maybe some people who are starting out, don't know where to start. So I'm curious if you have any advice for those who are starting in the industry or looking to make kind of a shift. I know you said have a support network, have tough skin, but any other sort of advice for those aspiring filmmakers, directors, and producers out there?
Make the film. If you want to be behind the camera, make the film, figure out a way, whether it's with your iPhone. Films are being made on iPhones now. I haven't done it. I like my Aries and my Sonys and whatnot. I like the bigger cameras. Everybody likes to work for a little bit of nothing, if you will. It's always nice to get paid. If you're going to do acting, do a lot of background work so you can get the tools for your toolbox as to how a set works, so you know what's expected, so that when you decide to transition to, under fives, guest stars, co-stars, and whatnot, and whether or not you want to direct, how all that works. You know that whole schematic. And make sure that you've got some flow of income, whether it's doing background work for central casting, and they're located in LA, New York, and here in Atlanta, and I think in Louisiana as well. But talk to a lot of people, find out what they're doing, how they're making things work, what's their income stream like, and how are they making it work, and how are they being okay, and making sure that you're always in class if you're acting, as much as you can, and read voraciously. There's so many books that are available. I have a plethora of them. There's all sorts of things that, the Audible books that you could listen to, and just, you can also vet acting classes. In other words, you can go to an acting class for free. You can sit in on the first one, watch from the back, and see how things are moving there. And if you, Sharon, they decide if they can take you in, or how, you want to work that, or you just go vet class. You can vet 20 classes and see what fits for you. You've got to feel safe in your space. As far as acting is concerned, you've got to feel safe where you are. Every class I took, I was safe. I felt safe, and the teacher always ensured. They told us we were safe. That's key and paramount. You don't want to go sit in an acting class to go learn something about your craft and not feel safe in there, and have, everybody's talking about you, whatever. That's not what acting class is. Acting class is learning how to, move your muscle, and work on muscle memory, and work on how to read scripts, and break them down, and all sorts of exercises with, mind me, know, send me an email, we pick up the phone, and I'll take time and talk to you. I've done it before.
So, Paula, we have a question from our audience here. Leonore is asking you a question here on Zoom, and she's asking, it's a comment actually. She says, Paula, you are a force of nature. You are an inspiration for future Portuguese American generations. Keep it up, the good work, and never stop being creative.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so nice to hear. Thank you.
And we have I have one more question for you. Do you have any exciting projects coming up that you would like to share more information about it?
Well, just the one I had told you about, the Consequences is in post right now, and that takes a while, because of coloring and sound, and piecing it all together. That's the short film. That's the first short film. And that's got to go through the festival circuit. I've got to, put that through film festival submissions, because I want to be able to get everybody talking about it. And then, of course, there's Cell Block Z, and I've got a plethora of other things on my plate right now. I am looking for something in my folder to make an impact. I mean, I'm not a writer, but I've got 1 or 2 books sitting on my bookcase that I thumb through every once in a while, and I go, if I could write, I would, but it just that's my challenge. I'm incapable of putting down the words to what I want to convey. Maybe I could do it. I don't know, but I've got 2 right now that are just like, I know something can happen with these. Maybe if I could just find a writer to actually convey my words to paper, it would happen. But my goal is to get, my work to Sundance and TIFF and cons, and those are long-term goals, and it's nice to have these goals, but they're my goals.
That's really beautiful, incredible. And so, Paula, we just want to thank you so much for taking the time tonight. It's been so lovely to have you here. And for those watching, if you want to check out Paula's work, it is on the PortugueseAmericanArtGallery.com. There's a whole page. You can check out some of those short films we talked about. Some of those music videos are all listed there, so you can do a little bit of a deep dive into Paula's work. But just want to thank you so much for your time and your insight and sharing all of that creativity and brilliance with us. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mariana. Thank you so much, Sandra. I really appreciate it. Again, I'm humbled. I had a lot of fun. I tend to chit chat a lot. I'm like a little puppy boy. I apologize, but
no need to apologize. It's exactly what I think these opportunities are for.
This is an opportunity to meet you, to know you.
And
Same here.
Just want to let everyone know we'll be having our next Meet the Artist talk a month from now. It's always on the second Tuesday of every month. So it'll be on April 9th from 7 to 7:30, featuring artist Michael De Brito. So join us again. Watch this later on our pages. But thank you all so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank
Bye.
you all.
Bye, ladies. Thank you.
Bye.